Hello again to a new coaching session for Simulator Controller. Today's session is kind of a recap of one I recorded some time ago about managing telemetry data. So therefore, if you already have seen the earlier video, you will see that you already know a little bit about it, but a lot of functionality has been added in the meantime, so I decided to re-record this information to get you up to date. So let's get started. Uh, Telemetry data is available in Simulator Controller in various places, in various applications, and you first must have to understand when telemetry data gets collected. Um, in most of the cases, you will be running the solo center beside your typical training session or solo races, or you will be running the team center beside endurance team races to control the race and so on. And telemetry data will be available in these two applications. It's also available in the setup workbench when you're working on a setup. And it's of course also available as part of the session database. So if you have stored your telemetry data to the session database, you can get to it using this app. Last but not least, the driving coach, one of the AI assistants, is using telemetry data to evaluate your performance and give you instructions while you're on the track. Okay, let's have a look at all of them. Let's start with the Solo Center. This application is collecting data together with the AI assistants while you're driving. You can store the data at the end of your session in a file for later reference, and telemetry data will be stored together with the session if you have collected it. Let's load a session to show you what I mean. Okay, this is a session with 2 stints, roughly 40 laps, and if we open the telemetry browser, you will see the telemetry data of all the laps here, and you can go to a specific lap, you can load another lap to compare it against the one you are seeing. The difference is not so great here, so exaggerated and so on. Telemetry data gets not collected by default because it's a lot of data and maybe you don't need it. So you must activate the collection of telemetry data when you're in a session, and this is quite easy. Open the telemetry browser, even if it's empty. Let's clear the session to demonstrate that. I've cleared the session. We will start a new one, and if we now open the telemetry browser, it will be empty. And if you yet go to the track now and drive your laps, data will be collected and you will see it here in the browser. I have a short demonstration of that later on, but first let's get more information on the table. In the Team Center, it's a little bit different. I will start the Team Center now. This is the kind of pitfall application you use when you're running team races, and here every driver who wants to contribute telemetry data to all the other team members which are currently not driving must check this option here. And all the drivers which are currently not driving can then open the telemetry browser and we'll see the telemetry data of the car which is currently on the track. The telemetry data will be stored on the central team server, so even if you open up the team center later on, you will see, I think, the last 10 laps of telemetry data, which will be stored at the server. let's go to the next application. Here in the session database, you already know this is your central window to all the data which simulator controller and the AI assistants collect while you're driving, and telemetry is part of that. But before a lab will show up here in this list, you must have stored it to the database. This does not happen automatically. Let's go back to the Solar Center. Once again, load the telemetry. Oh, sorry, load the session so that we have some data here. And open up the telemetry. And of course, you don't want to store each and every lab in your session database. This will get quite crowded with time. You will only store your best labs or the best labs of your friends and teammates so that you have them as reference labs for future use. And this is quite easy. You choose the lab you want to store. Let's take a look here. 154.1 looks good. And then you can click here on Save. And it will store it in the respective location in the session database. Let's do it. Save. Go to Monza. And there it is. So I don't want to have it in here, so I delete it again. Now it's gone. Okay. So you see you can have lots of labs here for different conditions from different drivers, and let's see what we can do with it here. Let's take Watkins Glen. And I load the other lab from myself, which is a bit slower. Set the reference lab here. And yes, you can see already the differences between those two labs, but we can do a lot more. We open the track map, and when I now click here in a location in the data, we will get an additional inspector window which shows both labs in a kind of data extracted format, so you will get high-level information about what's going on. And for example, we can see here at the corner entry, this is the first lab, my own, and this is the second lab from Clive, the faster driver. And if we take a look here at the corner entry, we see that I am almost at 100% brake pressure, but not exactly, so I could push the brake pedal a little bit more. But even more important, I took about 50 meters to ramp up the pressure up to 99%, whereas Clive only took 10 meters for that. So he's a lot more efficient in braking, and we already see he can brake 3 meters later. Also, he has a higher speed at the apex, and he is running in a higher gear, and so on and so on. So this inspector window is quite helpful. You can also extract it by taking a look at the graph, at least for some of the information like the gear used and so on. But the distances and the pressure data is very, very interesting. Okay, that's that. Then let's take a look at the setup workbench. The telemetry system is also available in the setup workbench. You can open it from the issue menu. And if you now go to the track, telemetry will get collected while you're driving. You can also run it parallel to the issue analyzer, which will give you handling information, which will take a look at the different temperatures and create issues here in the list if you are out of range of temperatures and so on. So both information, the telemetry information, but also the high-level handling information will help you to work on your setup. What is new for the last release is that we now have two different telemetry providers or telemetry data acquisition systems for simulator controller. The first, which is built in, is using the AI assistance to collect telemetry, and it's working in the background. It's available by default, but we also now have the ability to connect to Second Monitor, a third-party application by Mr. Chelko, which can provide telemetry data as well. And the benefit of using the telemetry data via Second Monitor is that it is coming in 1 or 2 labs earlier than usual. I have prepared a short video for that. Let's take a look at this. Okay, now we open up the telemetry system in the setup workbench. We connect to Second Monitor, which is already running on my fourth screen. I move the telemetry window also to the fourth screen. And now we start the session. We are starting in an AI race at Indianapolis. We don't have to take a look at the whole lap.
Low tire pressure, stay away from curbs.
Let's skip till the end of the first lap. It's here. And you will see that after the end of the first lap, telemetry data will be already available after a few seconds at the end of the first lap, which is something like now. Here it is. Okay. The main difference to the internal telemetry data acquisition system is that it's, as said, much earlier. The AI assistants need 1 or 2 laps more to get everything up and running before they start collecting data. And using this Second Monitor integration can be quite helpful when using the driving coach, for example, so you don't have to wait anymore for the third lap until the driving coach is ready to help you. Okay, that's that. Also, an addition in the meantime is that you now can import telemetry data from different other applications. This is not the same what I showed before. The live integration with Second Monitor is a different thing, but importing telemetry data from other applications is available in the session database. You can here use the import button. And you can now import data from Second Monitor, file-based telemetry information. You can import from Motec, and you can also import iRacing EBT, iRacing binary telemetry, I think, files. So you have different sources of telemetry data which can be stored here in the session database. Important to know is with regards to this is that comparing telemetry data from different sources might not be such a good idea because there are subtle timing differences between the different applications. So if you use telemetry data as reference lab for the driving coach, for example, or if you compare them in the telemetry viewer, you will make, or you want to make sure that they are all from the same source. So the last thing I want to show you is, let's go back here at Monza, how to use telemetry data for as reference labs for the driving coach. You have different settings here in the race settings to control how the driving coach acquires a reference lab. And very interesting aspect is that you can use several different reference labs for different weather conditions. And let's do it here. Let's take a look here at Monza. We create a new setting for the driving coach. We say load reference lab from database. Yes. You have several options. None. Okay, we won't use a reference lab from the database, which means only the labs from the current session will be used by the driving coach. You can use always the fastest one, which is okay for dry conditions in hot lab mode with low fuel and so on, but you can also use a named lab. Named lab means you have to create another setting with the name of the reference lab, and here you can enter a name of a reference lab you want to use. Let's go back here to the telemetry, select damp. This is a reference lab on Monza in damp grip conditions. We copy it, go back to the settings and paste it here and say, okay, fine, this one should be used in light rain. Oh, I made an error. I created the settings for all weather conditions, which apparently is wrong. So I have to delete them here. Select light rain conditions, recreate them. And here we go again. So now if you start the driving coach in light rain conditions, which typically has a damp track grip, then the coach will use this lab as the reference lab for your coaching session. Okay, last but not least, you also can use the second monitor integration for the driving coach. You can say, okay, we don't want to use the internal telemetry provider, but we want to connect to the second monitor. And then you have to enter the URL here, which is the same as in the other settings. I just want to show you where find this information in second monitor so that you can have your perfect connect string. You have to go to the settings of second monitor and have to enable the REST API. There's a support here you have to use. And yeah, I have set this as default if you connect here in the telemetry viewer. So the connect string looks like this. And you also have to enter this connect string then here. It has no default here in the session database because this is technically not possible, but maybe may change in the future. So, but you could always copy it from the connect dialog of any telemetry viewer. So that was it for today. I hope this helps you a little bit to understand the inner workings of the telemetry system. I know a lot of stuff as always, but yeah, it's not a weekend warrior application. It's a professional tool, and I know you like it. Okay, thank you. See you in the next video and have a nice race.